Hello, everyone. Welcome to me in Guanajuato, Mexico. I'm a little late with this video just because I've been traveling. I'm going to try and film this out here. I'm sitting outside up kind of above the city. I can see the mountains. It's very beautiful here. And it's loud. Dogs bark randomly. You hear people, you hear blasting from churches, you hear church bells. So I'm going to do my best and we'll see if this works. Otherwise, I'll try and film inside. So today we're talking about Gene Key 64. Actually, before I do that, I've been guided to stop doing human design readings at the end of this year. And so if you'd like to get a human design reading with me, there's a coupon code below. It's 33% off. It's valid until the end of 2023. And the reason I'm doing this is because the gene keys are really what light me up. And all of you are on here, I think mostly because of the gene keys, even though human design and the gene keys are very closely interrelated, and human design did make a huge difference in my life as knowing that I'm a projector. And it's the stories and the archetypes of the gene keys that I really, really, really love. And so I'm going to be integrating them into individualized readings I'm going to call soul stories, which are, or they want to be called soul stories, and they're going to use the archetypes of your gene key profile along with intuitive messages that I receive from my guides and your guides. And they're going to connect to the essence of your soul. Our stories create our life, as you know, through studying archetypes, right? They are all representations. And so the more we can connect to our souls and the stories that they tell, the perceptions that we hold about them, the more I have found that I can create a life of magic and use life to work for me, use my imagination to work for me. So these soul stories, they're not available yet, but they are coming. I'm working on them right now, seeing what wants to come through for them. And they'll be using your hologenetic profile to support you on that. I'll share more when the time is right. So if you want to get a human design reading before I no longer offer them except with my coaching clients, by the end of 2023, you can book in the coupon code SPIRIT33. All right, Gate 64, which we are already into for a couple of days. We're transiting Gate 64, Gene Key 64, from September 4th to September 9th. And today is September 6th. I was feeling this gate yesterday. So on the human design side, you'll find this gate in the head, and it connects to the ajna via gate 47. And this is collective sensing circuitry. The quantum human design name is Divine Transference, and the traditional name is Confusion. This transit's highlighting us to really focus on where we might be feeling overwhelmed by our big ideas and where that overwhelm might shut down our dreaming and creativity potential. Sometimes we get these massive downloads and then we go, how in the world am I supposed to do this? And what this transit is really highlighting for us is, can we allow those next right steps to unfold naturally? This gate, divine transference in quantum language, is in the head, and the head is a pressure center. And so if we're feeling the pressure, right, it's pushing down pressure on us. The way I describe this is, if you ask yourself a question like, what's the next step? How am I going to do this? And you ask yourself that question, if you can just feel into that for a moment, you can feel how those questions, asking like that, asking yourself those questions, creates this pressure in your physical body, in your emotional and energetic states. If you, because the head center is the connection to the divine, if you decide to ask your questions up, universe, show me how. Universe, show me the next right steps. Universe, I'm open to receiving. Universe, what if I knew what was next? When we ask the questions up, that pressure is relieved. So that pressure on the shadow comes from like needing to manifest some huge idea, but it's all about inside. We're not connected to the divine when we're doing that. And then we feel despair, inadequate, and we just don't know how to turn this thing into a reality. And it's that as I said, that deep mental pressure to figure something out. And it results in confusion. Like, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go? On the full expression of this, you really are holding the idea, the energy of the idea for the world, where it becomes not about you. It becomes about being in service to self and other through imagination and dreaming, and really leaning into the knowing that the next right steps are going to reveal themselves to you. Tricky in a world that is like, act now, do now, right? So on the Gene Key side of this, Richard Rudd starts off this Gene Key 64 by reminding us that shadows are not bad. Shadows are like where diamonds originated from, which is coal. And it is the pressure of the coal in which a diamond is formed, with all crystals, really, right? And that the world as we now know it, when we look around, is formed from a lot of these shadows. So how could they be bad? Because this is the world that we live in, and there are some really beautiful, amazing things in this world. So the shadow of 64 is confusion, and the gift is imagination. And confusion is a natural state. It's what Richard Rudd calls the chaos before the clarity. It's a state in which there is no order or structure, and it's where pure potential exists. It's kind of like when I landed here in Guanajuato. Guanajuato is this winding university town full of culture, but it used to be a mining town. It used to be one of the biggest silver mining places in Mexico. And it winds up a mountain through these alleyways and tunnels. And when I first landed here, I was like, I have no idea where I am. I have no idea how all of these streets and alleys move together. And now that I've been here a little bit, the different twists and turns are starting to make sense. But it started with chaos and confusion. And I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but it's almost like I needed to let my body lead the way and not try to understand it with my mind. And then the city started making sense to me. Because it's only when we try to interpret the potential, the chaos, that pure potential, the alleyways, without actually walking through them, without actually being with the chaos, that we become all befuddled and confused and what's next. The shadows of the gene keys, I mean, all of our shadows are born out of our mind's tendency to want to identify with what it sees. And this creates this feedback loop of two polarities where the gene key 64, because it's so sensing, it's really about also feeling the pain of the world. And this is a huge lesson for me too, that not everything that I feel is mine. So I'd ask you to sit with that as well. Like, is everything that I feel mine? because our physical bodies are so connected to each other, to each other's nervous systems, to the, I'm going to say this wrong now, the morphogenetic field of the earth, that we feel the collective pain. Not all of the pain, the confusion, the doubt, the stress is ours individually. And so when the body feels this pain of the world, whether it's ours or not, the mind immediately goes to make meaning out of it. And it creates this feedback loop where you don't even really know where it began. And then the mind tries to make sense of it through defending from the pain, through distraction. And it does this by imitating. So where we repress the confusion by imitating our parents, our siblings, our friends, our teachers. And this is really just how the world is, right? You go to school, the indoctrination schools, right? Which my friend, my friend Lexi calls them. But what that does is when we imitate other people and what they're doing, it stops us from feeling the state of the world, feeling the pain of the world. Or we feel it as in this confused state where there's anger towards the status quo and this unconscious attempt to, Richard Rudd uses the word, get revenge on life. For my experience, it's been like this experience of wanting to prove the status quo wrong, like this righteousness. And I have moved back between this imitating and then this like wanting to prove someone wrong. But what happens in this shadow is that we are left feeling very alone, right? It's a lonely place to be confused because no matter who you explain it to or what you're trying to explain, it's very challenging to find your way out of it. And the trick with this is it's this willingness to lean into the pain, willingness to lean into the confusion. I was feeling this yesterday. I was very confused. I was having a moment of being in a new country, having sold all of my stuff, not sleeping in my own bed, and I was very confused. And the best thing I could have done for myself, I had a list of things. I was going to film this 2 days ago. The best thing I could have done for myself was to just lean into it. And when we lean into it, we start to see that the suffering that we're feeling, the confusion that we're feeling, is actually an illusion because the mind is trying to make sense of it. And the moment we stop trying to figure something out, the confusion ends. And that comes from being willing to feel the pain. And you can liken this to being willing to sit in meditation, being willing to take cold showers or do cold dips. Because in that place, we become comfortable with the discomfort. The pain is allowed to come to the surface, to transmutate into what it wants to turn into, right? That confusion is simply chaos. It's not understanding. But if I allow my body to feel, just like I've allowed my body to lead its way through these streets and alleyways of Guanajuato, it all starts to make sense. My imagination kicks in. I start to go, oh, I remember the color of that door and that store. Oh, I think this means, yeah, this feels right. The need to understand the release of that thought brings you into your imagination. It brings you into this artistic place, this magical place where you're just kind of expressing ourselves. And you alchemize whatever is going on inside of you, also whatever is going on, the pain of the world. And we break free from these constraints of shoulds, of imitation, of trying to prove someone wrong. And our mind begins to experience freedom, where we also begin to connect with the freedom of our hearts. We allow our hearts to lead. And this is what then leads us into illumination, into seeing that as soon as we turn towards the darkness, the light appears. As soon as, like, as I sit, I was looking for a place to film this, right? And it's sunny all the time here, except during the thunder showers, because the thunderstorms, because we're here during rainy season. But as soon as I look for the shadow to sit in the shade so that I can read my computer and so that I'm not completely white in the screen, I see the light more, right? It's a bit of a conundrum that my mind wants to try to figure out right now, and I'm just going to let you sit with that. Thank you so much for being here. I love doing these videos, and I really, really love people like you who watch, who are lit up by this just like me. It helps me feel less alone, and it helps me feel as though there is so much possibility in this world, which I do hold on to. And sometimes it's nice for the reminder. So please like, share, subscribe if that feels right for you. And wishing you well. Thank you.